I'm at a train station in Metcalf. I'm inside and I saw Strangers on a Train. It is directed by Alfred Hitchcock. And if you haven't seen this movie, I will spoil it for you. The movie starts, we're following Guy and Bruno, and they meet on a train as strangers. And Bruno has like the most insane proposal ever. First of all, why would you propose this thing to a random stranger? Oh, I know that you did some further research upon Guy, even though he's like a very big famous tennis dude and he has a wife that he hates so much. Bruno has a person that he also wants to get rid of, his father, his very wealthy father. And so Bruno's proposition to Guy is, hey, let's swap murders. How about you murder my father and I murder your wife? He seems very polite, so of course he's gonna go along with it. He's like, haha, yeah, haha, yeah, and then like gets the heck off of that train as much as possible. He gets away from it. He has to leave. He has to like stay clear of Bruno because this guy is clearly insane. That's not even like the first 10 minutes. This movie is already so well paced and I can just stare at the screen the entire time and know what's happening beat for beat. And if I were to miss a moment, I wouldn't know what would happen, honestly, because you gotta look at the movie in order to absorb what's happening. It's just one of those movies. You gotta watch it all. Bruno, even though he was told yes, technically, I feel like he should probably think, maybe I should think about whether that guy wanted to have me go away, have to not deal with me anymore. No, Bruno does not think of that at all. Instead, he's like, all right, we've already agreed. I'm going to go ahead and initiate our deal. I do like seeing why Guy could even want to get rid of his wife. His wife, Miriam, is sleeping around, is pregnant, not Guy's child, by the way. And she is terrible. Oh my goodness. She's like, oh, actually, I don't want a divorce anymore. I'm gonna tell everybody that this is your child. And that will make sure that nobody wants us to have a divorce. That won't be allowed. And I'm like, oh no, Guy, you're in a sticky situation. How are you gonna get out of this one? Will you take him up on the deal? Of course, we have Bruno is jumping the gun here. He's like, all right, I'm gonna go follow Miriam. She's at the carnival, she's hanging out with a bunch of guys, and I'm like, oh, geez, I cannot possibly fathom hanging out with a bunch of guys without your husband present, alone, while you're married. Of course, we have good old pal Bruno. What a great friend he is. Going to Guy's house and being like, hey, I actually did the murder of your wife. Now you gotta uphold your part of the bargain. I'm like, oh geez. He did not agree. I mean, I know he says yes. Take it to the court of law. I'm going to assume that they're like, yeah, you told him to, yeah, you agreed to this deal, even like with whatever intention you had, whether it was to like, yeah, okay, just like to dismiss that guy, you still said yes. So in Bruno's mind, that's an agreement. So I completely understand Bruno's side, but I also understand Guy's side. I do like how Guy has a side chick named Anne, and then when Guy gets the news that his wife is murdered, and then there's a phone call and he picks up the phone, it's like ring, hey, come here, come over. And then Guy's like, okay, I'll come over to your house, Anne. And it turns out Anne's father is a US senator, and so there's a lot of wealth just going around these parts. First of all, I really like the set design. It looks so full, so lived in, so wealthy, so rich, so nice. This family's like, hey, you're going to be questioned for the murder of your wife. And I'm like, oh my goodness, thank goodness that he didn't commit the murder, but he knows who did. And so I'm like, the fact that he didn't go immediately to the police, I'm just thinking, oh, once you do eventually fess up to what is happening here, I don't know if the police will take you so kindly because you know who the murderer was the entire time. Bruno does bring that up as a point that if he went to the police, he would turn himself as an accessory, which is a great fear tactic. Oh my goodness, Bruno is such an expert manipulator. I do like how Guy is questioned by the police, and Guy is like, hey, while this was happening, I was actually on a train and I was talking to this really drunk guy, and then this drunk guy comes in who is on the train, and he's like, oh, I don't remember you. And I'm like, okay, you were able to identify a guy who is on the train with you at the same time, even if he doesn't remember you at all. That should still be some proof that you're not guilty of the murder. He should be your alibi. But nope, the police is like, nope, we can't accept that evidence, even though you found a guy who you were supposedly with on the train the night of your wife's murder. Nope, he doesn't remember anything, so big ol' sus. I honestly think Bruno's biggest mistake is coming out of the shadows and trying to ingratiate himself closer and closer to his family until he's like at this party with this family. And it's like, dude, first of all, you're doing party favors? Oh, let me just show you how to kill somebody. And I'm like, dude, what's up with you? Why are you so obsessed? Like, what? It's so obvious that you're so focused on murder. Nobody else in this party is so focused on murder like you are, Bruno. And you're like strangling this person, like demonstrating the strangling techniques. And oh, look, there's somebody behind this person that you're like having the hands neck around, and it looks like Miriam, but it's actually part of Anne's family. And it's like, oh, I'm gonna strangle. And then like a bunch of people like trying to pry his hands out, and it's like, oh my goodness, this is tense, all right. And that chick is frozen. She's like terrified. It's like, oh, he wanted to murder me. And I'm like, oh, that's terrifying. So of course, Bruno causes a scene, gets alone with Guy, and Guy is like, leave me alone. Leave me alone. And then he escorts Bruno out of the party. I'm like, this just makes you more connected to the guy. Ah, man, I'm just watching this movie like, Guy, I don't know if you're going to be able to plead your case very well to the police. At this point, Guy has kept the identity of the murderer of Miriam a secret, and he's only known who it is, and he's trying to deal with Bruno in secret in the presence of Anne, walking, just having a nice little walk, and then Bruno pops up. I'm like, Bruno, this is a big mistake. What do you think you're gonna do? Try to intimidate this guy into murdering your father? Okay, there's a lot of attempts of trying to get him to do this thing, and like each time Guy's like, go away, and it's like you're causing more of a connection to each other. And on top of that, Bruno gives him the key to his father's place and a way to sneak in and a gun. And of course, Bruno's like, oh, okay, you can murder my father this way. And Guy's like, fine, I'll deal with it. I'll do it. And it's kind of hard to tell in which case Guy is going to that place, because it's like he might actually commit the murder, but then when he goes to the place in which Bruno specifically instructed that his father would be there, Bruno is there. And freaking Guy's like, oh, well, actually, I was gonna come here and tell your father how terrible his son was, and he needs some psychiatric help. I'm like, oh man, how to turn tables. This is pretty intense. The tension in this movie is pretty intense and insane. Finally, Guy tells Anne. And I'm like, okay, I'm not sure if this is a good idea. I don't know if she can keep the secret as well as you can, Guy, which is to say not at all, because you're telling Anne, which is funny. But Anne herself is like, well, I have to confront Bruno. Anne goes over to Bruno's house, is like, hey, stop messing with Guy. And Bruno's like, actually, since you came over here, I have his cigarette thing with a tennis ball on it, with a tennis racket, so you know it's his. I'm going to plant it where Miriam's body was. And then the entire third act of the movie is a chase to get to that island, the Lover's Island, where Miriam was killed by Bruno, trying to go back there. and it's very tense. I really like the tension. We're having Guy, he has a tennis match, while we also have Bruno going to the island. He has to wait until night to drop off this lighter, but we also have Guy trying to stop all of this at once. If you haven't seen this movie, you gotta go watch it. I don't want to spoil exactly how it ends because it's pretty great. Like, oh my goodness, you have to watch it for yourself. This movie made me feel so much tension. I didn't know there could be so much tension in like the little down-to-earth things that happen, but like how the movie is set up and how all the stakes are set up, it's like, oh geez, will Guy get to Bruno before Bruno is able to plant evidence to use against Guy and frame Miriam's murder on Guy? How will this end up? This movie establishes a living, breathing world with great fleshed out characters, great character motivations, just overall great value work too. Oh my goodness, it's so nice. I keep mentioning that this movie is tense, and that's because it is incredibly tense. I would describe this movie as like a thriller with some horror moments at the very end. If you want to experience this movie, I just think you have to go watch it for yourself. I think I'm gonna give this movie based on how much I enjoyed it and how attention grabbing this movie was, and the pacing is so well done. I gotta give this movie like a solid, oh geez, it's like clearly it's at least a 9.5. If you like this review, watch another one YouTube really likes that. You can also like, comment, subscribe, share this video with everyone you know. You can help support this channel and fast track a movie review request for $20 at patreon.com/ASEPresents. And if you like to help support the daily grindiness of all these daily movie reviews, then go to this link to find the way that you can help support the daily grindiness of all these daily movie reviews. So you can go here, and until next time, I'm Mint Salad Sauce. See you later, my sacritons and megabits.